Welcome back to the model train room. It's been a long time since I gave any update of any kind. There's been a lot of changes. The most obvious is a much different location of the railroad. I know that this is a basement floor with Bachmann Easy Track, so it's about as unclassy as possible, but this is another temporary place to run trains. And while I'm here, I ensure that the rails are kept clean, and I do vacuuming down here at least once a week to ensure that the entire area is relatively clean. It's obviously going to be more difficult than just a regular room, but there is definitely a lot more to be able to do down here. I have a chance to make a long train here, and it barely covers up much of the layout. I also have several different consists here, so it's pretty cool to be able to have all this in this space and make sure all the cars, track, locomotives are kept up as clean as possible. That way it reduces any possible issues with them, and obviously I don't like to have my any of my rolling stock looking dusty with debris on them. It's just not my thing. But anyway, I figured I could give you guys a couple updates on some projects I'm working on. It's been a long time since I've spoken, and there's been many projects I've taken over already that are long completed. But there's some here that have been with me for a while and are still going to be completed a little further down the road. So let's get started. This is a Broadway Limited Blue Line Pennsylvania Railroad 210-4. It's a really nice looking model. Unfortunately, its appearance is far better than its performance. Some of the issues I'm getting with this is that when I'm running it down the line and I see the cars behind it, they definitely seem to have some bobbing. So the locomotive is not running smoothly. And at one particular spot on the line, it seems to derail. So when I have it on the rollers, I'm noticing that it is kind of rocking back and forth. That could be a sign of quartering problems, and I've re-quartered 4 out of the 5 sets of driving wheels, and I've also checked the gauge. Nothing was wrong there. There's no broken or missing bearings, nothing's out of place. So the more times I take this apart, the more I cannot figure out and just come back to the original point. So it is a bit frustrating to have put the time into it and made no progress. So I've since put it back together and it's become a shelf queen. It is a little bit frustrating, definitely, but at least it looks good sitting right here. And once I can continue and finish up other projects, I might come back to this and see if I've learned anything different. Until then, yeah, it's just a shelf queen. This is a Manua 260. It's a die-cast and brass model from the 40s. It does run. I did some work on it. It's mechanically sound, but cosmetically it is a bit rough looking. So it's one of those where I might kit bash and then do some more cosmetic work on it, because it's got a lot of potential. It's also pretty hard to find the 260s that have the centered headlight from Manua. Really cool locomotive. Really like that. And I do like the contrast that I have this 260 from them from all those decades ago, and I have what is basically the last 260 they made in 2000. So it is quite a big difference, but after all these years, I just love how durable these things are. So yeah, this will be given a cosmetic restoration further down the line, because it's a really, really nice engine in general. So here is the frame, and over there's the shell. This is a brass model. It is a 1977 Sam Hongza release of the Pennsylvania Railroad D16SB. The work I have to do on this will be kind of interesting because I'm finding a complete short on this. This did run and then suddenly it did not. So I've kind of stripped it down to just about this much and wondering how much more I have to go. Couldn't really find any major red flags, so I might have to go even further to figure it out. But it's pretty bare bones. This is not a super complicated brass model. I mean, I'm not dealing with any eccentrics, any springs. It's really a basic 440. But in general, it's just a little thing that makes the difference of this being a really nice locomotive. So whenever that gets taken care of, I'll be happy to put that back together and finally get this in operation. So this next project here, I do not have the body out right now, but I do have the frame of a Canadian Pacific Jubilee from Sam Hongza. I believe it was imported by Van Hobbies in 1974, which means it's old enough to have an open frame motor, and this is what it came with. Unfortunately, the bracket holding one of the brushes was already broken, and this motor, no matter what I could do, it would not give any response. It was dead on arrival. In the meantime, I did clean up and kind of lubricate the locomotive's gearing. It looks a lot better already. I've given it a CAN motor, and once I get the wiring correctly set, this thing should be able to run, and I'll be very excited for that. It's been sitting down here a while, and I just really haven't given it much attention lately. But once I figure out one wire, this thing should be up and running. I finally put it back together, and it will look really good. So that's pretty much it. It's we got two locomotives here which just have one issue, and they should both be put back together when it's all done and said. Now here is a really high-end brass model. This is a Challenger Imports Pennsylvania Railroad N1 SA. It is a phenomenal model. Beautiful. I recently took this apart to do some cleaning and give it some lubrication. I don't know the true history of how much runtime this has had, but the wheels are pretty dirty, so at least someone loved it. It's been a learning process because I would say this is the most expensive locomotive I've ever taken apart. There's some really nice brass models, but then when you get to like the really upper echelon, they tend to have a bit more features. So this one has sprung wheels, and to really, when you get the axles apart and you kind of clean everything out and give the gears some grease, it is a bit frustrating when the springs can fly off or not sit correctly, and you have to make sure everything is aligned, the bearings are set correctly, otherwise this locomotive will not run correctly. It will not sit correctly on the track, and therefore it's definitely going to be a bit of a challenge. I did get over the worst part. It took a long time, and sometimes on a model like this, when it becomes very frustrating that you feel like you're taking one step forward, two steps back, you have to just get away from it for a bit, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Thanks to some advice I received online, I was able to correctly put this back together for the most part. It does run, but this was a matter of getting the drive wheels and the axles and the rods set correctly. So I just have a couple more to take care of, and then I'm going to be doing some test running with this. I really hope that there's no issues. I really hope that none of the springs fell out of the axles, because that would cause it to run poorly, and really it definitely can be demoralizing, but when this thing is all done and set correctly, it runs like a Swiss watch. So yeah, do not be afraid to ask for help on any kind of project, especially one as rare and expensive as this can be. When you look at the previous two brass models there, the D16SB and the Jubilee, they've been sitting there for a long time. And the Penzi J has also been a long time project. And I've since cleaned up the area, made it a bit more organized, but because of these locomotives, I still have many tools and accessories still out. And I kind of don't like coming down here and it's still kind of a mess, because I like to keep things organized. So I've since kind of made projects around them. Like I've advanced over to this one. And once this is all done, which I'm really hoping is the case, then I will hopefully go back to the other models and figure out their issues, and that way I could finally have a nice organized area to run some trains. But it's a beautiful model, and I really cannot wait to get this running. Finally, here is a locomotive I just received in the mail today. This is a Riverosi 040. It was built in 1961. And I believe this is now the oldest plastic model that I have. It's definitely the oldest Riverosi model I've had. It's a very low-end model. It's Riverosi, so it's an Italian prototype locomotive, but they just put C&J on there. I like it. Pretty fascinating. And for something like this, it's pretty simple. You don't have to worry about springs. You don't have to worry about eccentrics. It's very simple, very basic, low end. You don't have to worry about any details that might snag off on something. This is essentially a toy, but just because I have something like this doesn't mean I can't enjoy real simple, fun models like this. Sometimes you just gotta have these really simple models that are kind of bringing the fun factor, and you don't have to be serious all the time, especially getting stressed out over working on so many upper echelon projects. I really can appreciate a very basic model if it has a pretty decent mechanism. I know Riverosi's, they're pretty solid. The locomotives might be plastic, but when you look at the insides, I'm going to guess this has like metal gears. It might even have some bearings like I've seen in many Riverosi models. Overall, the build quality is a bit better than even many plastic locomotives featured decades later. So this is one of those fun things just to have, and I have many little fun engines like this. I like to have both something simple and cheap as this, but I obviously really appreciate the beauty, refinement, craftsmanship, and performance of something like this. So that is about all the big projects I have working on right now, and hopefully I can get some locomotives on video to show some run-bys, because I've assembled quite a bit of consists over there. If you look in the further back, way back there, that is my war emergency hopper train. For the first time, all the ones that I own are finally all together after all these years, and I've thoroughly cleaned them. They no longer have dirty wheels, they no longer have dust and debris in any of them. I've had some of these for as long as over 20 years. I've had them for a long time, but I've done my best to take care of them. And some of them I've only had for a couple of months. Now that I've finally got them all together, finally got all the wheels properly clean, the tracks clean, is ready for a great locomotive to pull them. And maybe I'm looking at a potential one right here. Anyway, that'll be all for now, and I really hope to start posting more consistently, but when I have projects that kind of take a long time and I'm getting nowhere with them, it can be a little bit frustrating, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to give up, and that doesn't also mean that I can't work on other projects. So that'll be all for now, and I hope to catch you guys in a not so distant future this time. Have a good one.